Caitlinclark is a name that has become synonymous with revolution in the world of sports, and in particular, women's basketball. To put it simply, she has completely reshaped the landscape of the WNBA and sports as a whole.
Making her the first athlete since Michael Jordan to get their own signature basketball from Wilson. She also becomes the first WNBA player to get her own signature basketball from Wilson.
Clark has already secured a partnership with Wilson Sporting Goods to release her own signature basketball, making her the first athlete since Michael Jordan to achieve this feat. Yes, you read that right, Michael Jordan, the most iconic and valuable athlete in the history of sports, and now Caitlinclark.
Caitlinclark just did something that no athlete has done since Michael Jordan.
Her name is now alongside Jordan's in an exclusive club of athletes who have their own signature basketball. This isn't just a marketing gimmick or a simple endorsement deal. This is a seismic shift in how female athletes are perceived and valued in the sports world. For decades, women's sports have been sidelined, underfunded, and overlooked.
He's like Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, probably eventually Caitlinclark, where it's like individual people make an entire country tune.
With female athletes often relegated to the background while their male counterparts dominated the headlines. But Clark has shattered these barriers in a way that no one could have predicted. She has proven that women in sports are more than capable of holding their own on the global stage. And she has opened the door for future generations of female athletes to dream bigger, aim higher, and know that they too can achieve greatness. From her college days at Iowa to her rookie year in the WNBA, Caitlinclark has been breaking records and making history at every turn.
They tune into their sport.
1,000%.
Like hockey was never bigger than when Wayne Gretzky was playing it, and it was ridiculous how much it grew the sport.
Tiger Woods.
She didn't just pass the torch from past legends, she has set an entirely new standard. Remember when Pete Maravich's NCAA scoring record was thought to be untouchable? Well, Caitlinclark shattered that record, and she did it with ease. Her explosive scoring ability, her vision on the court, and her unmatched work ethic have led her to lead Iowa to countless victories, and now she's continuing that trend with the Indiana Fever in the WNBA. In fact, it's not just about the wins and the accolades, it's about the impact she's having off the court. Clark's rise is unlike anything we've seen in the world of women's sports.
Congratulations to her and her family. Yeah. The crazy thing is I'm just seeing her last year when they played LSU, but she's phenomenal.
And it's a perfect storm of skill, charisma, and timing. While others were busy playing catch-up, Clark was out there building her legacy, both on and off the court. The way she dominates the game is nothing short of remarkable, and she is quickly becoming the face of women's basketball in the modern era. At first glance, comparing Caitlinclark to Michael Jordan might seem like an exaggeration, but upon further examination, the comparison makes perfect sense. Just as Michael Jordan transformed the NBA into a global phenomenon, Caitlinclark is doing the same for the WNBA.
The Michael Jordan. I know you're not a major basketball
Him, I know.
but she is the Michael Jordan of female basketball.
She has the same kind of magnetic personality and transcendent talent that Jordan exhibited during his playing days. Clark's ability to captivate audiences and draw viewers who might not otherwise tune into women's basketball is unparalleled. Her influence has been so great that games featuring her have seen viewership skyrocket to numbers that rival the NBA's own broadcast figures. For context, games featuring Caitlinclark have attracted 32 million viewers numbers that far surpass the WNBA's typical viewership. These aren't just casual viewers either. They're dedicated fans who are watching the sport not only because of the competition, but because of the star power that Clark brings to the court. She's not just filling seats, she's packing entire arenas. In fact, her team, the Indiana Fever, has seen record-breaking attendance, with over 340,000 fans showing up to watch the games this season.
I knew Caitlinclark was marketable, but she's been put over some pretty big names. In fact, some worldwide, huge, international names. Two of them being Messi and Ronaldo.
But it doesn't stop there. Clark's influence has extended into the digital world as well. In the first week of the season, the WNBA's social media channels saw a jaw-dropping 157 million video views, an incredible 380% increase from the previous year. A significant portion of this buzz is driven by Caitlinclark's online presence. As she continues to dominate social media and digital platforms, she is not just a basketball player, she is a cultural phenomenon. Fans are eagerly following her every move, and brands are taking notice of her unparalleled marketability.
She's ahead of Steph Curry. Steph Curry is behind her on the list.
Caitlin has taken the sports world by storm, and her ability to attract attention and generate revenue is unmatched. Since joining the WNBA, her presence has resulted in a significant economic impact, one that has transformed the league and raised awareness for women's sports on a global scale. From record-breaking merchandise sales to record-breaking ticket revenue, Caitlin Clark's influence extends far beyond the court, reshaping the way we view women's sports and their potential in the marketplace. One of the most telling signs of Clark's monumental impact is the spike in merchandise sales across the WNBA. Fever merchandise alone has seen an astronomical increase of 193%.
And what a lot of people weren't willing or were a bit reluctant to appreciate was the gain on this young white sister of ours.
A staggering figure that illustrates not only the strength of Clark's appeal, but also the growing demand for women's sports when they are properly marketed. This isn't just a flash-in-the-pan success. It's a movement, a testament to how much the sports world is ready and eager to embrace women athletes who are deserving of recognition. It's proof that, when given the right platform, female athletes like Caitlin Clark can thrive and become stars in their own right. Moreover, the financial ramifications of Caitlin Clark's presence go beyond merchandise. The WNBA's sponsor media value has reached an impressive $136 million this year, with nearly half of that directly tied to Clark and her team, the Indiana Fever. This is a monumental shift that proves the economic potential of women's sports.
She was a great ambassador for the game. And by the way, she came in there and looked out for everybody else.
Brands are finally beginning to see that investing in female athletes isn't just a charitable endeavor, it's a smart business move. With Clark leading the way, they're realizing that women's sports are not a niche market, but a booming sector, brimming with untapped potential. While the numbers are undeniably impressive, what makes Caitlin Clark's rise so remarkable is her ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with some of the biggest names in sports, globally. In the world of sports marketing, Clark is not just an athlete, but a brand.
So long to get respect for women's basketball, and then they treat it like a junior high school girl's locker room. Junior high school girl antics on the...
She's currently ahead of some of the most recognizable figures in the world, including soccer icons Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. And when it comes to endorsement deals and global recognition, she's even ahead of NBA legend Steph Curry. These figures aren't just numbers, they signify a cultural shift. Caitlin Clark's influence transcends the boundaries of her sport and reaches across continents, resonating with sports fans of all kinds, regardless of their preferred game.
Instead of playing the game, they gotta be drama because they're jealous. Instead of letting their skills speak for themselves, they gotta be drama.
But Caitlin Clark's influence isn't limited to just numbers and statistics. Her impact reverberates throughout the economy, particularly in her home city of Indianapolis. Through ticket sales, merchandise, and the ripple effects on local businesses, Clark has single-handedly added an estimated $36 million to the city's economy. Her presence as a star athlete has had a tangible effect on local economies, creating jobs, boosting sales, and revitalizing areas that are otherwise left out of the spotlight. This isn't just about basketball. This is about creating opportunities and breathing new life into cities and regions, all thanks to the economic boon created by women's sports.
The idea of some players being jealous, yes, that probably exists. Okay. To me, yeah, jealous, sure. I mean, would you be jealous of somebody that got $28 million a shoe deal or whatever the deal is?
The true magic of Caitlin Clark lies in her ability to drive a cultural reset. It's not just about what she does on the court. It's about how she has reshaped the entire landscape of women's sports and set a new standard for female athletes. Clark has become the blueprint for how women's basketball and, by extension, women's sports should be viewed, celebrated, and marketed in the modern era. Every young athlete with dreams of greatness is now looking at Caitlin Clark and thinking, her influence stretches far beyond the game of basketball. She's not just a sports figure. She is a cultural icon who is redefining what it means to be an athlete in today's world. Whether it's her presence in the media, her fashion choices, or her ability to transcend the sports world, Caitlin Clark has shown that athletes can and should be more than just players. She has proven that athletes can be thought leaders, change makers, and influential figures who shape society in more ways than one. When Clark made her appearance at the prestigious Time 100 Gala in New York City, It wasn't just another celebrity sighting, it was a statement. The moment was not about Caitlinclark simply attending a high-profile event. It was about the fact that an athlete of her caliber, especially a female athlete, could stand alongside the most influential figures in the world. She wasn't just a basketball player. She was a global icon rubbing elbows with politicians, business magnates, and cultural leaders. This sends a message to the world, female athletes, and especially those who break barriers like Clark. As Caitlinclark continues to define what it means to be an athlete in the 21st century, she's also setting the stage for a new era in women's sports. Her success is not merely about breaking records, it's about breaking barriers and opening doors for future generations of female athletes. What Caitlinclark is doing is about more than herself. It's about paving the way for other women to follow in her footsteps and make their mark on the world of sports. Her rise has illuminated the deep-seated issues of pay disparities, lack of recognition, and the general struggle for respect that women athletes have faced for generations. But rather than adding to the friction, Caitlinclark is exposing it. She's calling out the structural problems and forcing the sports world to reckon with them. The WNBA and other sports organizations are now, more than ever, being asked to take a hard look at these inequalities and take action. And, in response, the WNBA has begun to make strides toward addressing some of these issues. This year, the league committed $50 million to improving player conditions, including upgrading to charter flights for teams. The WNBA is also working on a new collective bargaining agreement aimed at increasing player salaries. While these steps are long overdue, they reflect the growing influence of players like Caitlinclark who are pushing for tangible change. However, the reality remains. Caitlinclark should not have had to push so hard for these changes. The WNBA and the sports industry as a whole should have recognized the value of women's sports long before Caitlinclark arrived on the scene. But in many ways, Clark's rise is a catalyst for systemic change, and that's where her true power lies. Beyond the economic and social changes, Clark's meteoric rise has sparked a conversation about the future of women's sports, especially regarding league expansion. The WNBA has long been in need of expansion, and with the demand for women's basketball at an all-time high, it has never been more essential for the league to grow. Caitlinclark's success has proven that the appetite for women's sports is there. The question now is whether the league can keep up with the momentum she has created. The WNBA is on the verge of a new era, but whether they can capitalize on this moment will determine the future of the league and women's sports as a whole. As Caitlinclark's career continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the future is incredibly bright. The impact she's already had on the sport of basketball and on women's sports more broadly is extraordinary. However, the real test will be whether the WNBA and the sports industry as a whole can keep up with the meteoric rise of Clark. This isn't just about Caitlinclark setting records. It's about the world of women's sports adjusting to meet her level of excellence. If the league is able to rise to meet her, then the future of women's basketball and women's sports in general will be limitless. Caitlinclark isn't just rewriting the rules of basketball, she's rewriting the entire playbook for women in sports. The league, the industry, and the entire world are now watching her. And with every step she takes, Caitlinclark is showing the world that women's sports are worthy of the same recognition, investment, and celebration as any male-dominated sport. Her journey is far from over, and as she continues to redefine what's possible in women's sports, she's laying the groundwork for a legacy that will last for generations to come. For fans of Sport Pulse, Caitlinclark's story is just beginning. The monumental changes she's already brought about are just the tip of the iceberg. As Caitlinclark's career progresses, the legacy she's creating will inspire the next generation of athletes, and her influence will continue to shape the future of women's sports in ways we can't yet imagine. The journey is long, but with Caitlinclark leading the way, there's no limit to what can be achieved. The future of women's sports has never looked brighter.